Okay, I think that's a full of Bhéal 15 minutes there. So we'll just let you wind down from that. I'm very happy to say that we found the ghost in the machine and all has been fixed, and we are now up and running as we should be, live on Vimeo, YouTube, and Facebook. So if you have sent messages to anyone, you might send them another message and say, yeah, you can watch us live. We're actually Dominic Dole arrived, reached, Breakus Ladia. So that's good news. I hope you enjoyed writing your 5-word poems. So the thing now to do is, if you like to say your poem and be in for a chance to win Julie's collection and the 5-word challenge book, what you need to do is pop in 5 words and your name into the chat, and we'll get that underway as soon as possible. All right, I think we have enough to start off with. We've got words steadily flying through the door. Before we do, I should, I guess, just apologize to and welcome our Vimeo, YouTube, and Facebook audiences, who I can see are building up there slowly. We had some technical issues earlier on, so we couldn't start prior to the 5-word challenge, but fortunately we fixed all that, so we are now live with you. And welcome. The 5-word challenge has just been completed, so we're about to listen to those poems very shortly. And for those of you who are on Facebook, we are happy to take your votes for your favorite of the 5-word poems. We'll include those in our count when we choose the winner. All right, so we've already got 7 people signed up. So I think we'll start off, please, with Pam Campbell.
All right. This mountain yarn twines between a yam and a potato, a cassava for some, within a creek known as Troublesome, the land of the blue people, named for color of skin, and the territory of the bookwoman, pack horse librarian. The mud of Troublesome is a swelling, drawing old sores and onion-stung eyes. And what Widow Pike saw, who's not known to take a drink, over her vegetable garden one day.
Thank you, Pam. Next up, we have Brian.
Me for a second. Okay. While Cassandra prepared her famous cassava onion casserole pie with cheddar cheese and English peas, her troublesome niece, Cassiopeia, who woke that morning with an embarrassing cold sore, was sorting through several skeins of yarn for her auntie to knit her an Afghan composed of the colors of her choosing. She screamed, Cassiopeia screamed across the house, "Hey, Auntie Cass, it never makes me your famous cassava and onion casserole pie anymore since Mary Berry told you it was the best savory dish she ever tasted on that telly show you won."
Thank you, Brian. Next up, we have Michelle DeLay.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you. This is my first 5-word poem that's also 5 lines. High five. It's called Mean Chilies That Look Like They've Seen Things. Cassava stacked like firewood. Spuds sprout and tangle to a yarn. Cold sores in their tired eyes. A rouge onion sheds its snakeskin. A kitchen uncooked in is troublesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And next we have Ada Miles.
I was just busy noting Michelle into possible voting list. Great poem there. Mine is very short. Where is it? Order. It's called Order. I'll have cassavas or onions or yarn or any troublesome thing. You a culture there? Supposedly on date, but I'm not sure.
Well, thank you, Ada. Next we have Philip Spillane.
Thank you very much. I hope my internet behaves itself while I read this out. It's great seeing you all. Her onion heart beats to the temple of troublesome, troublesome, troublesome. She says her wounds are not wounds, but are small cold sores that will go away soon. Troublesome, troublesome, troublesome. She is clumsy, big cassava fingers, troublesome limbs, blistered textures, and they have a mind of their own. And in the end of the yarn of time, nothing will matter anymore. Dust in a desert of many, in a sandstorm spinning in a troublesome, troublesome way. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Philip. And next we'll have Sue Blue.
Right, thanks very much. Leave take. The cold sore on your lip has spread out further. Your picking fingers slender, your eyes gazing at your screens. You have built walls around yourself like an onion, its biting taste bitter, making us cry. Your troublesome leave take, a sudden soap opera, a dramatic yarn spun unfiltered. May you find your cassava to satisfy your needs until your cold sore can heal and your bitterness evaporates in the spreading of your wings.
Thank you, Sue. I have you down for the 5-word challenge, Matt, but I got a second message from you. Did you manage to write a poem? Matt Mooney, are you there?
Didn't get here, Paul. 5 words. Sorry about that. Okay.
Oh, you weren't here, Matt. You weren't here, so you don't have one. Is that right?
No, I wasn't.
Not to worry. Not to worry. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to Lauren O'Donovan.
Hello, thank you. This is probably only really going to make sense to anyone who was here at the very start of the session. It's called Cassavastina. The cassava, she says, is like a yam or potato. It's basically just another tuber, but a bit more troublesome. It peels in long strings, much like yarn. You can boil it or roast it, mash it or toast it, but most often it's eaten in a soup or a stew with pieces of meat and a lot of onion. It's native to South America, and although a perennial, they grow it as an annual, as a source of carbohydrate. In fact, it's the 3rd largest source of food carbs in the tropics. You might know it best as tapioca. Yes, like the pudding. It can be sweet or it can be bitter, just like a person. Some dry it and grind it to a powder then paste, believing it has medicinal properties to cure cold sores and other infections, but that's not true. What is true is that improper preparation can leave residual cyanide, enough to cause intoxication, paralysis, or death. Oh, and also, she tells me, if I may be a bit naughty, it's related to the eggplant in that cassava also means penis. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have to take your word for that, Lauren. Next up, we have Augustina.
Sorry. Oh dear, oh, that was amazing. Okay. Grandma was like a big ball of yarn made for love. You could pull at it forever and it would see no end. The yarn knotted us together, kept us coming back, making memories and staying on track with the family news. The last time I saw her, things changed rapidly. The start of it, she was strong. By the end of it, she was gone. Like an onion, each month that passed, another layer of loss was revealed. More tears would come, bitter tears. I quickly learned how troublesome knowing that she would be leaving could be. I won't erase the memory of her arms and legs swelled up, hard and cracked like cassava. I tried to massage it and she behaved like she did not know me. But she knew me and her eyes told me that. She spoke in parables, no more long sentences, no strength to shout, being fed by hand. Cold sores formed from the nights I would stay up praying, begging for more time until I broke into fever. I have enough of her. I needed more of her. I could not let go. My grief resembles an everlasting yarn. It has no end.
Thank you, Augustina. And next up we have Catherine Ronan.
Hi everyone. I called my poem Mio, Ugnis, Agus Áhas, and they mean bad luck, loneliness, and happiness. Why am I so attracted to onions? Is it the way they peel layer after layer and steal my heart? Such troublesome bad boys. It always ends up in tears. Misha Equina. I tried locking myself away with the spinning wheel of time, weaving the golden yarn of meditation, sewing cold sores in the ooigness of the castle grounds all alone, every mirror removed from the stone walls, until one day an obelisk, a Mr. Universe erupted from the lazy beds. Oh my, am I barking up the wrong tree, Mr. Casanova? No, darling, you just call me Mr. Cassava. Take me to dinner. Yum, yum, Lanarag.
Thank you for that, Catherine. Is there anyone else, or are we there? Are there one or two people just scribbling a last word in that would like to say a 5-word poem? Cahill. Mags got in just before you, Cahill. Let's go to Mags Creedon. Hey, Mags.
Hey, gonna stay. Geared Bogani Bhéal. Touching onto her last position, holding that single last root vegetable, Cassavara, root her back to her past, tropical dark homeland. Your gra nor Sargrania, on Cree Igridimus Praba, Cassavara, Anam, Icasa in Sanvariga. In their pathetic vessel, redundant, leaky rubber ducky dinghy, unbinding collar, lagus luffa escrota, weak and sick, but thinking, hoping, peering at the troublesome sight of Napolini immigration police, Karen Kirkle, Harden Clonna, drawing circles around their family, layers of ripples and backwash, closing in on them, on ever shrinking circles, tossing them wildly overboard, and the sun beats down on her little boy. Loud hailer rolls their final warning. Babies carried aloft, poshed a harnagooling, cold and sore, hope freezing, expectations burning, sun in the freezing sea. Ach, on aspa and an gorp, it an famine and an volog. Ach, na cree ig abba fos. Their hearts are still beating. Anyway, unfinished, but in a will.
Thank you, Mags. Next up, we have Cahill.
Hey Ganglang, how you doing? So it's a mess, but we'll see if we can get through it, see if we can put some structure in it. Come here and sit over there for yourself. I've a yarn like an iron for you. And more layers to it than an onion soup. It's halfway between a Bildungsroman and a picaresque, but you bet it still has its communion money in the building society. Its inner child once got sick like chewed cassava all over Brogue Alley and still got lucky, but it scrubs up a treat. Try this. It's yours. It suits you. It fits.
Thank you, Cathal. Next up, we have Ben.
Hey. Hell has its own Edenic garden, air sweet with the scent of wild garlic and onion, where chive flowers sparkle geometric purple in the morning sun and dew. The perimeter fence is a tangle of yarn the devils collected with a troublesome grin from unsuspecting lovers insensible as doves drunk on tumblers of slow gin. And cures for cold sores, headaches and hives grow plentiful as fungi in leaf mulch. At the center of the garden, the prized cassava grows, drawing its power from the fertile earth. To taste this tuber is to fall into sin.
Very good.
Thank you, Ben. And next, could we call on Cornelia?
So this one's called Frying a Teddy Bear. Cups of yarn, like the sides of cut onions, cups of them, stacked, because I never finish anything, especially the teddy bear I promised my grandson. I'll send it to him in parts, in layers, like onions. I must try frying my cassava with some onions. I heard that eating it raw is bad for you. In the pan, I throw cups of yarn, like onions, and add brown teddy ears, like a cassava. If I fry it on medium heat, on some trouble oil, and add some garnish, I might glue all the yarn cups together. My grandson will burn his upper lip while hugging his bear, form the opposite of a cold sore.
Thank you, Cornelia. Gormina Magat, agus an céad Philip Ella, Matt Mooney. Would you reg, Matt?
Paul, no, I'm not in for the 5 words because I came on late.
I know you just sent me a second message saying you did do one. Oh, that's for the open mic, isn't it?
I
Okay.
sent one for the open mic.
Yeah. We'll call out for the open mic a bit later on after the guest poets, Matt. I'll give you a shout about that, okay? All right, okay. Do we have any last takers for the 5-word challenge? Any final poems that have been scribbled and you're not sure whether you want to say them or not?
Any last words?
Yeah, you might have one word that you can squeeze in. And my suggestion to you at this point is just use that word as the title and go for it. See what happens. Yeah? No? No takers? All right. Pronounced, we had 6, 9, 12, 15, which was very good for the five words. So it's time now to vote. Time now votáil anish. So please, can you decide who you think the winner is, and just put in winner and the person's name into the chat box, please. Or if you're on Facebook, you can put your winner's name into the chats there, into the comments there, please. You can. Okay, I'm going to mute myself for just a few minutes to count up these votes, and I'll be with you shortly.
Do you feel? I think you're in.
Okay, I don't need to add them all up. I think it's fairly obvious who the winner today is. So congratulations to Phil. Well done. You are our 5-word challenge winner tonight. So you're going to be getting a copy of Julie's. Ooh, that's not doing very well, is it? It's black. Dana, which I actually put up for you shortly. But if you please, Phil, if you could give us another rendition, another rendering of that poem, that would be great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much from all the layers of my heart, says the Onion. That's cliche. Great poems, everyone. That was tough. Yeah. Thank you. Her onions in the temple of troublesome, troublesome, troublesome. She says her wounds are not wounds, but are small cold sores that will heal up soon. Troublesome, troublesome, troublesome. She is clumsy, with cassava fingers, troublesome limbs, blistered textures. And they have a mind of their own. And in the end of the yarn of time, nothing will matter anymore. Dust in the desert of many, in a sandstorm spinning in a troublesome, troublesome way. Thanks, everyone. And well done. It's great poems, all of them.
Congratulations, Phil, and thank you very much for that. Great, so that's the first part of our evening taken care of. And it was a good thing we managed to go live before all those fantastic poems started to be read. So our social media audiences didn't really miss out on anything after all. So brilliant, thank you, Phil. Okay, I'm just going to go through a few announcements as we usually have at this point in the evening, and then we will move on to our guest poets, which I'm looking very forward to tonight. So first of all, I'm going to post these into the chat box there as well when I do this. So please excuse my lack of, I suppose, efficiency if I tend to slow down a little bit. So first of all, we've got the 5-word international poetry competition, which is continuing. Now, and it's about its 5th week, the 9th edition of the competition. This year's judge is Maurice Reardon, fantastic poet, Cork poet living in London. So for submission details, you can visit ovail.ie, and because you're here tonight listening to us either live or through Zoom, you get the words just a little under, I guess, what is that? 14 hours, 13 hours before everybody else gets them. And the words for the next week are symphony, sand, crisp, miniature, and swallow. That's symphony, sand, crisp, miniature, and swallow. Okay, our second notice is that the 9th Ovail International Poetry Film Competition has just opened for entries at the beginning of May, and that submission window will stay open. So for submission details for that, I've left you the link there. You can just go to our website and look under the poetry film section. There is also an audio archive of all of these events that you can go and view through the website, or of course, since the virtual sessions began, all of these are available on video in our YouTube, Facebook, or Vimeo accounts. All right, so we do aim to maintain a safe space for writers and the general public. We discourage self-censorship, but we do expect participants to be sensitive to refrain from any offensive or discriminatory language, including that relating to race or gender, religion, cultural background, etc. Because we work in line with the Arts Council's Equality, Human Rights and Diversity policy. And so to avoid any phrasing that might be hurtful towards, people, any minority groups, marginalized groups, or anyone for that matter, just to be sensitive about that. The private chat mode is available for all participants to use during the event. So we ask that you be respectful when using these channels, to please report any offense to us, either through the private chat or to info@obhéal.ie. The open mic session tonight, as I said, will be also available on MP3. And I have to say that our guest poets for June, which actually hasn't been published yet either, because our June-July lineup won't be published for another week or so. But we'll tell you now that our guests for the 14th of June for the Cork Harbour Festival event, which we've whom we've been collaborating with for the past 4 or 5 years. This year, our guests are Theo Dorgan, and Longáin. Longáin is a Thai poet who grew up in Australia and New Zealand, and she writes a lot about the sea. It's generally maritime themed event, but of course the open mic is open to whatever you want to bring to the party. So we'd love to see you in a month's time for that. I want to thank everyone who has been offering us donations over the past number of months and years, for that matter. They can be given to us through our contact page online. There's a donation button there, or indeed down on the right-hand sidebar of our website, and indeed the button on top of the live poetry stage on our website as well. I have to say that there is a new Irish language poetry competition that has just been announced. Fugir Comortas Filierte Gaelga Nua, Comortas Náisiúnta, agus Idir Náisiúnta Esha Dili Gaelga, Duas Nuesha and Fir Dove, agus Comortas Nua, avec mar chud den the Fingal Poetry Festival in Mliana, Man Fower. So that's a national international competition for Irish language poets, and Fir Dove, it's a new prize and a new competition which will be part of this year's Fingal Poetry Festival in September 16th to the 19th. And you can get more information about that from fingalpoetryfestival.com. And okay, I think there were just 2 small other ones that I had written down here before I introduce our guests. It seemed like a bit of a long-winded announcement list tonight, so I apologize for that. The Cork International Poetry Festival is actually on all week this week. I'm going to be introducing some poets at it myself. It's running all the way until Saturday. It's mostly, I think, if not all, free. So do go to corkpoetryfest.net, or just Google Cork International Poetry Festival. A really, really brilliant array of Irish and international poets reading at that, and not to be missed, really. If you can make that, do. And of course, the Lime Square Poets this week, Sue Blue is going to be the guest at that, so do check that out. And I think that is just about all we have on the side of announcements for this evening. So, agus anish don príomhacháid, so now for the main event. Agus briachas mórla fars na Gaelga as tucker leis na cáid seo, agus as a chur ar gummas an chud is far dilí teangan na Héireann a tuairt lat or live. Beimid a géisteach leo níos déine. Well, anish Nairira, many thanks to Forest na Gaelga for supporting this event and for enabling us to bring you the best of Irish language poets. I'm going to introduce our guests separately. So first I'm going to introduce to you Devon Olongan, who is here from us. I'm not sure if he's in Donegal at the moment or in Belfast. He's originally from Donegal. Here we go. He's a poet, writer. He's a PhD researcher and Irish teacher from Donegal. Currently lives in Derry, where he is completing a PhD on the Oceanic lays and their role in society. The bulk of his writing consists of Irish language poetry, and he has obtained recognition for this endeavor on a number of occasions. He won the Irish language section of the Francis Brown Bicentennial Poetry Competition 2016, the Manchester Irish Language Writing Competition 2018. He has won and come second in the Slamfiliachta Liu Lunasa in 2018 and 2019. And he's had poems published in Untitled Northwest Words, Fasta and Coer, and his debut collection Ideo by came late last year. So for our English audience, please forgive me now, but I need to say this in Irish, as we are supported by Forest na Gaeilge for delivering a bilingual event. Although my Irish isn't the best for this, I'll give it a go. Phyllis Scrivnior, Taidior PhD, agus Muintior Gaeilge, as Dunangal e Devon Olongan. Tashi Inachoni in Nira, Fuilar, agus Gubber a PhD, na Lihe, Fianichte, agus a role Sachi. Filiach Gaeilge a skriven sé den chudis mo, agus tá reint dúisne buinte amach ige as an her seo. Bhain sé an craibh Gaeilge den Francis Brown Bicentennial Poetry Competition, sa bhliain gabhfuil sa séideag, brunne an chéad áit sa Manchester Irish Language Competition, gabhfuil sa hochtiag agus tháinig sé sa chéad áit sa Slamfiliachta Liu Lunasa, gabhfuil sa hochtiag, agus sa dara height an bhliain in a dhéag. Tá dáanta leis fáilsethe an in an Tultach, Northwest Words, Fasta agus Coer, agus daisi coscéim a chéad chnuasach filiachta ideolocator, Gamal and Nurig, and you can read more about Devon's debut collection on the Cushcame website, and I'm going to paste the it in there. It's cushcame.ie/ideo.html. So, Fáilte mór, Devon, you're very, very welcome. I'm looking very forward to hearing from you.
Grumina mayogad a fól, agus tresha lovacharja, grumayogov as a veastian shaw, lum agus lun gojir of Bhéal Zoom nor Facebook no kabihad. So thanks, Paul, and thank you all for joining in, whether it's on Zoom or Facebook, wherever you are. Mara Louis Paul is Dubhán Olongan. Donegal Irish, we've pushed past the V sound there with the BH, so Dubhán or Dubhán, depending on what part of the country you're from. Rogu me idir honol no in nanal gojira agus coniorm anish in nura agus me giri ra hongrach doch racha. So born Donegal, living in Derry, getting too close to 30 are the primary points in my life. So gojira van rodabawai lomayanu and not na couple dan gojira valeu a small head Crusach Filiachta, a Dulce Cushcame, Gomal and Ore. So I'm just going to read a few. My first poetry collection that Cushcame published late last year. So I'll read 3 or 4 perhaps of the ordinary paper poems, then 1 slam poem, and to further Paul's warning, I will just mention that as slam poems tend to, the language is a little bit more iffy. Nothing too bad, but just especially sensitive, maybe cover your ears at that point. Agus Tasha he make a be and Rodishe ideolocator. What an ideolocator actually is, it's related, I think, to the word idiomatic and idioms, meaning here or localized kind of, or so it's essentially the red dot that says you are here on a stationary map. And so that's the title of the collection and the title of one of the earlier poems in the collection. So I'll begin by reading the title poem, I suppose. Agus is sé ólas cultura a bhí ar a dan seoir dus. I originally entitled this poem Ólas Cultura, or for tourists, after and I suppose almost or in respect for a poem written by Francis Harvey, the Fermanagh/Donegal poet who died around 2010, who had a poem called Information for Tourists, the first two lines being, pull up your car for a moment, stranger, look hard at that broken, discarded man. Agus an dan seo tá rud cosúil i gullar there's where the poet is essentially a local or a farmer atop a hill standing beside a tourist who only yep, that's correct, Pam. So the tourist sees only the beauty of the area, whereas the local sees a kind of a grittier side and talks about his life, talks about people dying in the fields while looking after sheep and how hard and rural. So the first poem anyway, I'm not going to offer translations, but rather the summary of the poem beforehand. So an chiad dan the ideolocator, and seo atá tú a chorasóir war sléomh an eile faoi gríon saoirí camera de glach ag tarint pictar don lucht soála. Fécht na círaí de chorasóir bali thadi wana siad, fuair his thadi a masc na gíirech mágin gevri, mac leis a chochian na círaí an ish. Vecin tú an réala goig na chaal, ta mahan tishmahori agus uncle lum an nui a wain, cursim an nata. And chipel shin na haka, hi achar machar on nig mac nu a reina, li a chinuer co trum le farhin sleva, togu machar a jack corson. Kivni orhu a horasor kidiach thadi mogini, agus tuud hi hier did a chamra. Analysis a nhart a grawa a hochel and glan shaw. So Shannon Chiad, and that's the first poem, and just any of you that speak Irish will note that the poet or the voice of the poem mentions the kind of culture and society of the time, where his grandmother died in childbirth and his father and the brothers and sisters were shipped out to relatives and locals, as was the tradition at the time, should a woman with a young family pass on for any reason. Next poem that I want to talk about, which is called Starbucks, Jesh Ella, or Starbucks and Another Chance. And I kind of read this tonight and originally wrote that poem a little ironically, and that I don't exactly support large chains. The Fish, where she talks about a poem needing its own kind of truth. Agus bhí scuaine the arms sedan show. I needed the coffee shop to have a queue. And when you think of a queue outside a coffee shop, your mind does go to Starbucks. So it was probably a local coffee shop. As I say, I'm not a great supporter of any kind of chain. And basically, it's the will I, won't I of seeing a person that you take an interest in, and will I ask him or her out? Should I, shouldn't I? And the eventual, Jesus, I'm too late kind of moment. So it starts off anyway with the barista writing the name on the coffee cup and so forth. So Lanhi me arai kabi shaw Starbucks, Jeshella, Screven she anish an cuppen, Screven she anish an cuppen torch lum, le snag a hug me manium di. Honnig me ardu hiva Bhéal, Aurcumer na milshénas na donoga, ganadri na fwniog, chorhu milshan fad le cora, osglium ma Bhéal le clishan maha, ishlian she a hai conibra, and chafe sa cuppen, glanan she an boinyad an skonna, glacum go cuin we he an cuppen, tuggin she due go tostach, chuntiam a dro habla chukra, Chorum demerera agus shacklage cappuccino, a chorum clar plastic cuppen paper, go mile a fillin ian crogach de the unum tra, a huntium agus tium Ia gaire le customer nua. So the realization maybe that the poet or the voice left a tip for no good reason. Tá mé ag strachelt go mór le déanaí ar differ idir an fille agus an gúthatá sa dáin, agus ní bhíam rá cinse cé a chórdú chororthú. I'm just saying that I've recently in a few reviews been talking about the difference between the voice in the poem and whether or not we can read that as being the poet himself or herself or whatever, and whether we should accept that as thus. And I see a few people that are in a poetry class of mine here tonight, and we've discussed that as well. So Beidir and Ronan, he may dan away Ella. I'll read one more, then I'll go to the slam poem, which will take a little while, and I'll see how much time I have then to read another couple. Shaw and Dan Linner one May and Chomortis Gojir of a Manachin. This is the poem that Paul mentioned that won the Manchester Irish Writers Prize back in 2016. I need to try to get into some competition this year. All my achievements seem quite far away when Paul lists them out there. But anyway, so Shalaster and brackets beneath that, I have an Hampshire. So watching the plasterer, and then the subtitle is An Hampshire or the Weller. So I've gone and found myself a kind of Silver Tower academia style life, but my father's a plasterer, and I always made, I spent every summer working with him, kind of in my youth. Agus show, go dear of Kenyal almost the show, and I take the idea of a field to a rough house to a finally finished house as being something akin to the raising of a child, where you take what's nothing or the youth kind of, and you mold and raise and nurture, and you know, eventually there's a finished product, which I hope to be someday. So Shaw go dear of ig awerker a flaster, and I start about talking about the morning, how oh Tessogum Rosaline raw warrior, I know all too well. So I start this poem at about 8 o'clock when we jump out of the van, and my father, who is much more in tune with nature than me, decides whether or not it's a good enough day, whether or not it will rain, and how he shows me the signs that he's using and the reasons for what he decides to do and so forth. So could be Cathrú go dtí a hocht, mágin loch haurí, hurling mud den van, dawarc maithir a spéir, na scamal, one na spéire, wahar a lia tíomh tógala. Mínian sé dú na tuairthe, rinnan sé lum óla, noda nag vecum hían, as few session torch fui, sacrimid labre. Coram siúl ginnejor agus switch straine, mascum strain, nur a vasum rei a stasawar a rocha agus a rai higatí, scrúdi an mahre, mas a giarte, mas rohan nor rá loche, a giart de gone de hamach nam lienta me a vi brodul. Aurcum maher, lav ladger vloch nocte ag cluda garodish. Bunam a ma tahi nachwologum, tegum rodi na jiglum a yanu, ag jeru a lei, moj birch ag aurcar ol janta, as mean a rodda vigaru, rien see her sullier than dawn. So that's ag aurcar a flaster marajerum. And so an rodda yan he me anish na bogi me arai higan kyun slam. So I'll read one kind of slam style. I'm not as established or as good as Julie in this, but I'll give it a go. Agus Louis Paul go dear of goal me gober or PhD or na lichafiniachta. So Paul mentioned that I'm doing a PhD on the oceanic lays. And these are the poems and stories basically around Finn McCool and the Fianna. And the bun clock, the kind of keystone or foundation stone for this tradition is Agalú Nishan, which is a long interview between Oisin, son of Finn McCool, and Padraig, St. Patrick O'Gearov, and it was written or compiled in the late 12th or early 13th century. And my poem is entitled Antigalú Anew, or The Interview Today, and it basically talks about it's an imagining of how the interview might go where Oisin and St. Patrick to start arguing with each other today. St. Patrick obviously is talking about Christianity in Agalú Nishan Órach and trying to convert Oisin, whereas Oisin is more fond of the traditional Irish hunting and fishing, agus na rudí sinna like. So this is a kind of modern reimagining. Agus Tashi and she amach le Padraig iglort, so there are two people talking in this, obviously. It starts with Padraig turns to Oisin and they kind of take turns insulting each other go bonasa. So Shaw and Tagaloo anew. Oisin is bin lum a jair tu agus jestin ne tillu ac dus vicania bachart doin lorch fwy Pat na Tashi and shit shinna reached as pack a sex shellig agus snish while shin na kai of Hampshire the ogin sinean giat agus de tamisha brian. Na lorlum mar shin na viking begin ladger fadoak and shan agus chin usil or chapel to a fur shock hitcher the hone or a hope to and clock. As fear ditch fat pat shin mar at hair me hiena ta shan uignach as we cry ni eki me a risht fin no Oscar ma wach ac ni hi me gi Neil and shinach shit crack. Need an crack a hunty me na gale no need a sport a hug me mo heel agus do mo yia a hug me mo vio agus na fian and efren heglatsa velo. Bhín lá aniu da mi ugam mo rí le kilche le golas le fin na rí ag shella go wajin go chat na hi agus oi a go majin ag ceolas ag spree. Ceol agus spree a chorran tú ac go lower a rin shivse ní ro se cochram na fair fial agus ceala go agus breg agus as marag a macha rin tú an invention on greg. Ha jarnach a bhí de ys a chascan an hirne Ridge go fialtach a bhealmuid go críanna, a clialban cé gur mór a chlú, agus a wari Virginia idir agus chú. Gála ridgely dus awl marg a lat, and sin mawakali mistra, cred sin fat pat. Fada ridge shid ni roan Cork yar, ac dag Oscar shinchi, a hanam lar. Sin an darna hur Oisin eistlum go dlú, níl me ein font mahan ní strumman a tú. Níl me rock rum, níl me rower na fat, agus ma abran tú a riste go hefran lat. Sin an darna hit that sin at sin a lua, cawal efran a gahar na fuin tua. Louis tu nur a lor tu fuia, agus dirch tu lum gur an sin na na fianna. Efran a jerum, and fairnum, hail, ma hen tu onni tu of this whale, ta she his fuin na milcha fuin talu, an atcha and dini nak na maya go hanu. Lor fin at sin fado hin, chyn she go crwy, ni ro of rihra bin. Fi fin and it of ruddy a hur. Ta clear of that, I'm sure. Ma wallach dort saw she na day and damn New York na Louis shin again, honig misha tali tarlu, August ta me hien ni sprish de fui na tu. August ni heglish na thina de anuas go trum. The egg or on solar clee misha crum, near inish misha breg a be an corha at all, they fialt that in a honest a gall. August in the aher, nacro bolu cray, o nur a leishe le banwaru, bay and tanabe or stray, leishe le banwaru when she salt the shin, as layer grunatine across the were ginner a chin. Massly and too thin, far of the feel. Near hanty she arrogant ac rinlish a tail, ni ro crosstach there be an anam in, ni go way shaw a clary cred shin. Wool she cracking the ban of Imaru, a jertosa lumps and nacro she garu. So washing, and ish do skill, fin in shaw a vi feel. Shaw and a skill, dirch me naknyan hine aprish hiha. Fwy iha leafin pera ela de hiha. O iha go magin, wool she lahar, and iha shin a rin she label the wahar. So shin go jeer of John Shin, that's the longest and most tiring of the poems that I'll read tonight. Then August yeah Honig yeah, see him couple of rod we see a few things in there, Pam, saying you can hear the switch of conversation, and I very deliberately gave a kind of a strong Donegal accent, the Gaelic of maybe the Blue Stack Mountains and Fintown around the centre of Donegal, and Patrick speaks with a more kind of centralised Irish, just to give a wee bit of a difference between the two. And everything that I mention in that is true. Patrick repeatedly talks about a bout of necrophilia committed by Finn McCool, which is a true part of Fenian tradition. And everything I mention is supposedly true. Ach, ta me ag dridjum the jeru ma chudj ama. I'm kind of, as far as I'm aware, close to the amount of time that I have.
Better, Quigna Maidnisma, no machine.
Tishin go bra. So lehi maybe jer Bert Chella mar shinde. I'll read maybe another two for you all in that case. August rahi me anish higadan a sprag a cludach. So I'll go to the poem that inspired the cludach. It's a kind of a moon over a lake of kinds. So lehi me shin, and the poem that inspires this is called Tumadar Yali, or moon diving. And so in Irish mythology, the Tishke Hien Ainta Tauchtach, water was very important in Irish mythology. It was seen as kind of the border between the two worlds, the human world and the kind of spirit world or fairy world, other world. And so I talk in this kind of about the best way for me to walk on the moon is to wade into the lake, and you have the kind of the tone of just going to the other world through a visit to the moon, which you can access by basically, as I say, wading into the lake. So Shaw Tumadar Yali. Salach Shaw Roam a Honik me and Yalach Haram dus, Anish ni Hugum Max Rachik in Suis, Collager Shin and Loch, and Shaw a Nocht ta me tochulch na Gali, Slussage Macheman a Giri ni Stivna, Q in the Mahimpel, as Tostach and Doan Chevy Heg Malapadal, as Gal Tishka Fuum a Nocht a Ekamol Haram, August Lanum Lum Anish, Eg Shul or a Yalach. So good year of that one, and it ends on the note of basically this, what I keep in this vein, walking on the moon, i.e. going further into the lake. I'm a bit obsessed with some of the darker poems, or what is it they say in French, Mystique de la Merde, a bit of an obsession with the darker elements of things in literature. So as Stocha Bajer lehi me just Kiona wine, Ella, and I think that'll definitely leave you all sick of me. This is a small series which I actually can translate to English for you all because they're quite short. The poems, it's a series called na Paiga, or the Kiss series, and the three poems are entitled An Fóga Hían, An Fóga Dó, agus An Fóga 3. So Kiss number 1, Kiss number 2, and Kiss number 3. And again, I talk about the Fenian or Oceanic tradition. So Finn McCool just quickly gained his knowledge by burning his finger on the salmon of knowledge and putting his thumb into his mouth to cool the thumb down to burst the blister. And he accidentally ate the salmon. He didn't mean to, but he accidentally gained knowledge in this. And I compare myself to the salmon, having given away knowledge and kind of been left useless, because once the salmon of knowledge gives up his knowledge, he's just a salmon, I suppose. But, and Fogahian, so this is the first part. Toru na chiadiha a chaihamar lehila tour na milcha. So the result of the first night that we spent together, an augury of thousands, and then we move into an fog over a daw, which is the only one that's kind of a little longer. Ordog in the hanga a huran cogu adring, chian to tridges ka wahara de lapa, gielum, Nílonam anish ac yn yanan to giam, bradan me oner bwanu a chuacht. And so Finn, when he gains knowledge, need only put his thumb into his mouth to predict the future or gain supernatural knowledge. So the second reads, your tongue is as Finn's thumb. It predicts a war between us. You see a battle. You see a fight on the battlefield of your bed. I surrender nothing now but that. I am nothing now but that which you make of me. I am a salmon who has had his power stripped. August and Triukion, so the final of the series on Foga Tree, may a nishig smichu an ihishin actra glindra. Wog me go Jeffrach le Haniel go in the Venya. And so the final 5-line poem in that. Me now thinking of that night, a wonderful journey. I moved quickly with the deep breaths of your desire. August Shin that's number 3. So gur mille mai og of a lig as a ve geiste blum, agus gur mille mai ag Paul, agus to meg dul gomorley Julia Clinched in ish. So thanks everyone for listening, and thanks again to Paul, and I'm greatly looking forward to hearing Julie now come after me. So gur mille mai og of.
Gur mille magats Dubhán as sin as an lev gahalan Nairi agus gahanati mi like a gum arena sinnet and Gamleshka for pronouncing your name with the v, with the munch v.
It reminds me of the older people in my kind of nearest Iota, so it's a wonderful return home.
I like the way you said you kind of gotten over the v sound to BH and Donegal, so we're a bit behind you on that score. We might need to upgrade our pronunciation sometimes soon.
You're just more native.
Cara Waliam. He's a good friend of mine. Many of you he's part of our board, and MCs usually are Irish language events, which is why it's now up to me to return the favor tonight. So Fletcher Julie, Fletcher Moore, got Julie Field, is a bilingual poet and singer, born and bred in Cork City. She studied both the degree and MPhil in Irish at UCC. She now works as a primary school teacher in an Educate Together school in Cork, and she's passionate about inclusive education, as well as teaching children on the autistic spectrum. Julie has published many poems over the years in Cor, Fasta, Southward, and Cyphers, and her first collection, Dana, as you know now, was recently published by Cushcain. Julie is a very well established as well. She's known in that world as Julie Gu. Julie was crowned the Munster Slam champion in 2012. She won the Heart of Gort Slam just 2 years ago. Videos of Julie can be found on her YouTube channel, and info can be found on her Facebook page, and I will post links to those very shortly. Agus as Gaeilge is scribnior da Thiongach agus Arani I Julie Fields, a rugga agus a toga I gahar Corky. When she came agus phil amach sa Gaelan I UCC, agus muinan she I Munsko Fowlam le chéile I Corkig inis. I an fashionte mar jou aidichas cum sichioch agus muine fáistí le huichachas. Tá reint dáanta fáiltecha eci haar na blianta I cóir fasta southward agus ciphers mar hampla, agus a céad cnúsach dar tedal dána fáiltecha le cuscéim le déine. Is fulle anamniúil I Julie sa dáin spoken word in Erin, féin anam Julie Gu, Coronia I mar chorí na muan I gobli dóiag, agus bhuaig she an Heart of Gort Slam I gobli né diag, tá físna de Julie fáil YouTube, agus a hille Jolas lachnach Facebook, agus currently na nascna an seo, sa Zoom chat box. I'm going to share for Shin, Carwell Shay, John Shay, and Sa. So, Fáilte Mór chuig Julie Fields. I'm looking really forward to hearing your reading tonight. Welcome, Julie.
Míle buchas Paul. Gé dul sios bhíon lom buchas a gáil a Dubhán as áling sin mahu agus gannairí leat le do chud taide. Táim se chun cóp de leabhar cinach amárach. Okay. Thank you, Paul. Buchas a gáil foras na Gaeilge leis. A huge thank you to Paul ó Bhéal. It's kind of emotional. It's kind of amazing to be reading. Bhéal an titli a cheol me chuig ó Bhéal, I'd say demli an ó hin. Bhí sé mar leachtóra gom UCC agus bhil sé nóir luigh mé gur gomím sé ag scríomh. Bhil sé dom dul chuig ó Bhéal. So thanks to Alan Titt UCC many moons ago. He recommended I go to Bhéal because I was scribbling away and never showing it to anyone. And didn't I find my tribe then when I went to Bhéal, my creative misfit brothers and sisters. So gur míle maith agaibh. Táim se chun tosnú le dán dar tidal an próséis. Táim se chun dána léh as Gaeilge agus tá astrucháin agam as well. So my poems are quite short, so I'm going to read them in Irish and then give you an English translation. An próséis. Sa próséis atá an amhlaim, an fuaisibh, an fás, an spree, an fian, an town, an luach, an chúis. Fáilte roimh chuig mo próséis go doras, cruch de chracan a grúca, folmhigh de fócaí, cumad de rúnaí de chraim, bhí a cup an téagain, an sucir ribh an stirrim. So the process. Within the process lies the learning, the relief, the growth, the fun, the pain, the time, the worth, the reason. Welcome to my personal process. Leave your ego at the door. Hang your skin upon the hook. Empty your pockets. Keep your seat. We'll have a cup of tea. The calm before the storm. Mar a dúirt Paul rugach agus tógach sa chathair mé bhogamar go glan maiar nóir bhí sa míag or ach táim se tréis fill ar an gcathair ríist. Born and bred in Cork City, agus in chéad an eiletá le léamh agam ná i measc mo dhaoine. There's a very well-known poem by the fabulous poet Martino Diron from the Aran Islands, where he talks, it's called Fuisha Iota, and it's a poem where he talks about, you know, when he's living and working in Dublin, and he's missing his home place and his people. But in the process of the poem, he kind of poo-poos on city life and city people. So my poem is a little response to that, I guess. Tá aspa gohna le chlosint I le tríoch na Gaelgas dócha ó Winter na Cathrach. For obvious reasons, we don't hear many city voices in Irish literature, because naturally the Irish language is strong in the Gaeltach, the countryside na Tuatha. So this poem is hoping shedding a bit of life on realistic city life. Amask Marina. The duishgurt na lí, knick gera ó Bhéalacha, Bhéal na naris ag canna sé córa, ag córach an anro a chaun leis an sail. Sail gan talamh nó teannas fa Oireacht. Oireacht ar bánach, cuasan fitte go Dlú. Dlú chadra bh gisteanacha, I glósanna cúngacha. Cúng agan tocht na tútha, díobratha as an áit. Áid tuas an phobal, sa léir sa ghraun. Ghraun tíocht na líne, go smuir sa cnáva. Cnáva an scéal, blas na fiordanna. Cas capín ar a tinna chanáv, agus cuir leis na lasracha. Amongst my people. North of the Lee, sharp, extravagant hills, stories articulate, lilting linguistically, battling hardships of daily life, existence without land, or tensions of inheritance, an urban heritage, close-knit neighbours, nesting in kitchens and miniature yards, rural bias banished from here, people of conviction, distinctive wit, hilarity of the locals, merriment in the marrow, the bones of the story, an authentic taster. Throw a stick on the bonfire, amplify the flames. Gurmagh. Gurmagh. An chéad an eile tágam ná cná. Cná means wound. Táim sig súgra leis an dá theangas dóchas a dán seo. So this poem is a play between Irish and English. The English in the poem isn't a translation, but it just works with the Irish. It's in addition to it. So ní gá am astracán a léamh. I don't need to give a translation. I think the essence is within the English you hear anyway. Okay. Cná. Sagobi desert a rare. You wore ribbons in your hair. Camel churkra sitja at the himpel. You reminded me of times when life was simple. Faunarm leshke lagá lat, but my tongue is heavy, my thoughts are flat. Féchan tú suas na realty os the chion. Your eyes smile with one. I shiver and shun. Kjol trúra, taunta san air. My throat burns with thirst. Clench clumps of hair. Bugan tú go grosdúil, gan imní go héadrum. My pulse is pumping through my eardrums. Stonin tú orm, siúlanim fro. My body shrinks, my shadow grows. Is diacar and drach or the aiga leav, but your presence is welcome. I feel humble and safe. Ma chraken na chora, ma bhion na lathnú. Letting go, looking up, ag foulam, ag fiosú. My next poem is called Ginlach, which means genealogy. And I decided I wanted to read it yesterday, so I spent a bit of time with it trying to translate it. And it was only when I looked very closely at the poem I realized there's a word in there I didn't really mean to be in there. It doesn't destroy the poem, but it was a bit of a shock. And it doesn't destroy the translation. I'm not going to tell you which word, but it will haunt me forever. Ginnalach. Fi brinte ag fear sinna dort ma vamo. Fi buid ag mana is magerli ol vora. Fi brinis na cream, banya sulach, na scriptor scripte fápéir banúil. A riach rudi áfach, sunri stray, ach Cork an Milan vanná. Garach pinos orthu, canúnt clown a genúnt gan rá. Genealogy. Men had wombs long ago, according to my mammo. Women had cocks and big massive balls. Ovarian trees grew, sappy milk, the scriptures breastfed paper. Things changed, however, details a blur. The blame was put on women, penalised, conceiving a child without consent. Thanks. My next poem is entitled Nianda, which means childlike, and it's based on a true story, I suppose, a glimpse back to the days when you could crack with your friends pre-COVID, not worry about any of that shite. And this is Nianda is just a glimpse into a weekend I spent in Kerry with a good bunch of friends. We're still the closest of friends. Many years ago, before we were like proper adulting. And it was just one of those nights where at 6 a.m. you find yourselves up on sand dunes, throwing yourselves off it, kind of knowing that someone's going to get hurt, but we're just going for it. We're just fucking going for it, throwing ourselves off the dunes, going, come on lads, see what happens here. And sure enough, Brian Murphy ended up with a dislocated shoulder. And fair play to him, he still saw the funny side of it, even when we were trying to ring 11811 to get a taxi to bring him to the hospital. He was laughing with us, and 11811 were hanging up because we were laughing so much. So one of the lads sobered up to drive him to the hospital, Paddy Rahley, the legend. So this is Nianda. Sorry, just find the page. So for Brian Murphy, who's over in Australia, below her, Nianda. So Laurie van voor inert na nashlingi, didi fungusach of lasha, ashter at all anunt, skigeracht kush kladig, shishernach an lay, ek her foiltje rivanliha, a nocht, a rare, a ruer, gachiha saner chiha, anol hincher a kugel smintje, biog do churagoro, ledlu chorja, nask sailta of rashu, harlinte vian lay, agus an grian ag fila, leimimid an duach seo, godigan dieter dinga, balomid ling an shin. Childlike. September foragers in the field of dreams, nibbling fungus nipples along a psychedelic trail. Seashore giggles, whispering day, welcoming the night, tonight, last night, the night before, every night in the air ever. Ancestral breath, tickling earthly bonds extend across meridians, and the sun returns. We leap from this dune until someone gets hurt. We'll fuck off home then. Masam godigach gach alian tornu dunne cruchach an town no an spás sin idir rúiseacht agus chola au ma dagan sminchi chuing Beir. So I think many creative people will understand that time at night where you're not asleep or awake and you can have music come to you or words, you know, visions kind of to help to get the creativity started. To me, I don't get up. I just like my bed too much, but I kind of think if the idea is strong enough, it'll be there still in the morning. And that's what this poem is. It's called Aun, meaning there. Aun. An lína ceover idir fian is fleisiúr. An town díomhar idir chorcadas agus cholas. An chumme cheisteach idir bhréag agus ír. An blas casta idir chearmh agus villis. An second sucker idir bhrista agus yeisithe. An anál daim idir chéimhin agus saoirse. An spásdach idir chola agus chúiseacht. Is ann na hagan tú orm, is ann na há an dáin. There. The blurred line. The ominous time between dark and light. The inquiring face between false and true. The complex taste between bitter and sweet. The composed moment between broken and fixed. The deep breath between captivity and free. The silent space between sleep and that's where you'll find me. There lies the poem. Gur maith agat. Tá dáin amháin is as Cushgame on Laura Shaw leis cosúla Dubhán. Cushgame also kindly published my book. And one of the poems in it is actually an English language poem, which I wrote for people who don't speak Irish, but who have strong opinions about Irish, let's say negative opinions, which they're perfectly entitled to. I got many a strange response from people when I told them that I was studying Irish for many years, particularly during the Celtic Tiger, because there's no money in Irish, apparently. So the title of the poem is But the Irish Language is Dead. But the Irish language is dead. But the Irish language is dead, you casually said, while sweeping a hair from your face. You seemed perplexed to learn of my postgraduate studies in Gaelic. I looked to the sky, hoping to summon a response, one which would articulate the intimate relationship my soul is with my mother tongue. Although my mother did not speak Irish well, one could tell through her use of the habitual present as she to be talking away about her day that our ancestors spoke Irish. What use is it to you? You continue. My gaze is drawn to the street name fastened to the wall above the chip upon your shoulder. Lips pressed together, my tongue dances the words Shuloj no lower, walk of the lepers. 3 Gaelic words so modestly disclosing to me forgotten history, walk of the lepers. I imagine them shuffling their way to the river to bathe lumpy limbs. Different picture, however, as it declares we stand at Lovers' Walk. Lepers were abandoned in translation, and lovers lived happily ever after. And how is it, you ask? We sat in the same class as girls, listened to the same teacher, heard the same words. How is it that I embrace this language, absorbed her complexities? Almost apologetically, I shake my head and say I do not know. You reveal having been force-fed Gaeilge in primary school. You gargled it through your teenage years, dribbling sentences here and there, until finally the day came when you could get it out. I empathise with you, but plead with you in my mind not to declare a language dead because you cannot find a good reason for its existence. You joke that we are getting old. I decide to share with you linguistic gold, ag teacht chun na forfachta. describing the process of aging not as decaying, but as coming into perfection. I see the reflection of the sun in your eyes as we say our goodbyes. Leper-shaped clouds form in the sky. Time she can dawn one Ella leave. Will she all right, Paul? I had the phone ready here to time myself and I forgot to press go, so I have no idea about the time. Okay, so Níra found our Rodaic to scríomh Bhéal COVID. I didn't want to write about COVID and I did not want to write about COVID. I just said I'd see what would happen. And I do have one poem entitled Virus, which you can guess what that means, virus. So time to kind of leave that topic, which you know. Virus. Fan sawalia, ní de lava, clúdig de Bhéal, ná bí dá. Moon de fáistí, nach bhfuil sé jacker, meas na múntúirí a seo amach. Cuir gléachar de chóirde, mínig zoom do de iad, ceannig lávíní bhí ag cócrocht gon stad. Tear ama ag ri, cuir struchtúir de lá, mínig zoom do a ríist, tóg anáil. Éis le Deepak Chopra, den iireach dolamon pín, cumad súil de chórsan, cuir smacht de ghordín. Bhí ag siopadóireacht lína, buíochas a chas de fust, cuir ceistir de dhífór zoom a bhí núdó. Éis leis an radio, os gil budéil das fiona, agus ceann amháin eile a muafuin grain. Éis le blind boy, agus tú ag siúil go sásúil, nach das an rud é bheith beag. Nuair líon tú siar a de labba is slíthe, aber padidir fá gánach, meach na bhar na mílte. Scábhógach scion a láb a sínta gan solas gan aine lo. Fan sawalia, ní de láva, clúdig de Bhéal, ná bí dána. So I'll read the translation. Virus. The translation isn't half as nice as the Irish, sorry. Anyway, virus. Stay at home. Wash your hands. Cover your mouth. Don't be bold. Teach your kids. Isn't it hard? Respect for teachers from now on. Phone your friends. Explain Zoom to your dad. Buy gloves. Cook non-stop. Go running. Plan your day. Explain Zoom to him again. And breathe. Listen to Deepak Chopra. Attempt to write. Look out for your neighbours. Sort out your garden. Shop online. Grateful for your job. Ask your sister to explain Zoom to him. Listen to the radio. Open a nice bottle of wine and another in the sunshine. Listen to Blind Boy, walking happy out. Isn't it great to be alive? When you rest your head in bed at night, recite a pagan prayer, thinking of Manny, pulmonary terror, their hands stretch without hope, alone. Stay at home, wash your hands, cover your mouth, don't be bold. Gur míle maith agaibh. I hope you enjoy the rest of Bhéal tonight. Míle buíochas Paul Machar Yeelish. Gur maith agaibh.
Míle maith agat Julie Fields. As an léamh go híomh ar fad, bhí na dáanta, a rás ar fad cinnte, and thank you. I'm so looking forward that you've still got a foot in the spoken word door. It was great to hear you reading your Irish language poem again. We've heard that one before, of course. And of course, Lovers Lane is just literally 2 minutes from our door, and you've just moved around the corner from us. It's 2 minutes from your door as well, I don't know, I still like to call it, I guess, if I see you a bit more, I might start calling it Lepers Lane from now on. It's been such a pleasure to have you. Juan Galesh, gur míle magat sin a chara as dúnagáil. No, as nire nach bhfuil. Tá tú nire. So thank you so much for these fantastic readings. Let's give one big round of applause to our lovely guest poets, Dubhán Olongan and Julie Field.
Unmute.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Thanks so much. And I guess Cormina Magat Arisht Forest na Gaeilge for making this all possible. I hope my little bit of Irish has done the job for them. At least you will have this all on video, so we can go back and watch it again, and to be able to hear those gorgeous sounds, you know. So I would recommend, I have posted the links to both poetry collection at Cushcame and Julie's poetry collection at Cushcame. They're both debut collections published by, you know, a primary publisher in Ireland. So do take a look at those, and you can read the words while you're listening to them, you know, by coming back to the videos, you know. So it's really handy, and it's a beautiful way to explore the world of Irish as well. So I would recommend that to our non-Irish audiences. All right, so we will move on now to our third part of the evening. It's great that so many of you have joined us who haven't a clue what's going on when the Irish is being spoken, of course. It's great to have the translations and the explanations, indeed, that always helps. But of course, the music alone in the Irish language is enough to make it all worthwhile. But now we're probably going to have an English you know, dominant session, I imagine. There'll probably be a few Irish poems coming in, which should be more attuned to now that you've heard some serious Irish language poets going for it, you know. All right, so I'm going to ask you, please, to now put your name down, open mic, and then your name, and I'll have you on the list for the open mic. I see Mary O'Connell is there. Mary, you don't have to put your name down because I'm going to put you second, okay? All right, great. Mary's happy with second. Of course, that's only if nobody else goes on the open mic. And here we have a flourish of entrance. Fantastic. So we'll just allow that to fill up for just a second. And then we can begin this part of the evening shortly, very shortly. Right, okay. I think we've enough to get us going. And we'll start off, please, with Brian Franco. Welcome, Brian.
Sorry. Where was I? Here we go. I will get to the top of the page. This piece is called, how much time do I have, sir?
I would say 2 short poems or 5 minutes max. 5 minutes max.
Okay, the first is called Unrequited. I am a deer in headlights in your presence. Just the sight of you when you graze my elbow unintentionally. Oops. When you lightly tap me on the shoulder, when you say hello to me. God help my heart if you wave or smile at me from across a crowded room. If you dare to look me in the eyes, for me to tell you how I feel would make my heart beat so fast. It would have to jump out of my chest to survive. I will write my feelings in a poem in a squiggly black and white cardboard covered comp book, tear the page from the notebook, fold it in thirds, shove it in an unmarked envelope under a pile of paid bills in my desk drawer, so I shall never risk reading it to you or anyone else. If I did so, I might learn why the word crush exists. You could hold my mushy heart in your hands and twist it and wring out my ability to smile, leaving only residual heartbreak tears that would never dare exit my eyes. I will take a deep breath I shall never exhale. I will accept our existences as separate. I will accept being afraid of my own shadow is the same as being afraid of being in love. I will hope that one day you will reciprocate my feelings without my expressing them to you, so I can finally be able to read you this poem. And the next one is called Blame the Sun for the Rain. This rain banging on my window pane is messing with my brain, making me feel something other than plain, or maybe not so sane. I feel like whooping, like a whooping crane, whoop, whoop, whoop. or maybe chewing gum on a choo-choo train traveling from the Cali coast to the coast of Maine. This rain, this early May, state of Maine rain, drip, drip, dripping, drop, drop, dropping, flipping and flopping like flip, flop, flipping, flopping all over the place, taunting cucumbers and tomatoes to rise from the goldy gazpacho on sweltering hot, sunny July and August days. I'm thinking maybe we could use a little more rain. That might drive us insane. But this rain is only water, pieces of clouds falling from the sky, pitter pattering against spinning rooster weather vanes, pounding on roofs, clang, 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 making us feel like we need to get out of the house. To drive in it, but then again, it makes us hungry and no one wants to cook on a rainy day. So it teases us by becoming heavier, throwing lightning in the air, whips around a little wind, screams with thunder. Then it decides to not stay, to move on and make its way to taunt someone else in some other place. Only after the sun pays what the rain charges the sun when it needs to take itself a break. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks a million for those very vibrant poems, delicious poems, and as delicious as the yellow pepper that you have around your head there.
It's a tomato.
It's a pimento, is it? Yeah.
No, it's a tomato.
Oh, it's a tomato. Oh, wow. Gee.
Yes.
Well, delicious looking nonetheless, like the poem. Thanks a million.
It absolutely was. Thank you.
Thank you, Connell. You ready, Mary?
Sorry. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is called The Lure of Baltimore. Landscape hollowed in a primal past, molded in memory. Often your secret takes me by the throat, where I am pulled back into innocence. Church Strand, folded into evening quiet, shakes out its mystery for those who seek. Walking with cousins from Laharne's Cross, I follow grass-grown pathways to the tower, where heather in a purple lake spills out before our feet. Stirring forgotten ecstasies of wild woodbine summers, ambles gently to the stony stillness of Trafraska's shore, where outcrops gaunt as Druids keep watch since megalithic times. Always the clear, strong taste of salt and tar, with curlew's cry cutting the morning air. When the time comes to go back to city streets, we pack our bags, unwilling to disturb the jeweled peace of Carberry's 100 Isles, that web of gold. Turf smoke lingering at the end of day mingles with rain-soaked fuchsia, making us drunk with longing and desire. Banished, we turn reluctantly away, see Mount Gabriel struck by a rod of fire. That's it.
That's fantastic. That was such a beautiful poem. Thank you, Mary. It's great to have you back with us. We haven't seen you in a couple of sessions.
That's true. Thank you.
So delighted you could make it. Thanks a million. Okay, so next we'll call on Paul Talent.
This is called An Ode to Modern News. History is bullshit, everything is a lie. From the Big Bang to Pangea and how the dinosaurs came to die. Well, clean your ears and listen now. Let me speak before you ask me out. Oh, because here it is, the greatest secret to exist. History's enabler is in fact the stapler. The stapler, you ask, the stapler, I say. always waiting to snap. It'll get you one day. When Noah sailed the floods, he did it on a stapler. When Jesus was crucified, it was with staples. Anne Boleyn, beheaded by a stapler. The apple that landed on Newton's head was, in fact, a stapler. The Wall Street crash happened because someone left the stapler out overnight. Even Hitler's moustache was kept on by a stapler, all right. Even in modern day, the stapler finds a way. Clip, clip, snap, snap. Beware of the stapler's deadly trap.
Thank you, Paul. I'm just down there very quickly, just in case. Looks very dangerous all of a sudden. Great job. Next, can we call on Matt Mooney?
Coming up, just one poem, Paul, thank you very much. This is from a new book, just fresh from its launch about a week ago, called Steering by the Stars. And the poem is Robin's Tale. It was only a moment's weakness as I was passing by. You look so sweet in pink. I had to stop and nuzzle in your flounces to find your perfumed fragrance in the heart of you. Yet I cannot savor you, my rose, for I have lost my sense of smell, and the scent of you could send me. But in the air, soft and beckoning, I smelt your very essence, though only for a millisecond then. Up above, a robin redbreast sang from the reach tiles of the shed beside me. I stood in silent tandem with the stillness of trees, standing as if at ease in sheltering the house. Sycamore, beech, ash, and alder. Not a breeze to change the mood or break the calm that left me there, stranded in my own domain. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, and congratulations on the new collection.
Thank you.
So next up, we'll call on Pam Campbell.
Okay. Mama's Piano. Mama's piano beats in stilled echoes, memory caught by fingers just turned 4. When last she played white and black bones of song. My tiny dimpled hands atop her long slender ones, our fingers threaded in touch and tone, shaped and shaded by rowan tree. Dark-headed handmaidens, flowering in harsh seasons, call her chords by name. Happy fingers dance in triplets, sad fingers linger in straight notes, lifting to blue scarf sky, lingering in the hollows, brushing coal black earth, coloring all in between, while Mama drops kisses top my head. My fingers long and slender now rest alone on notes natural and flat. The sound and shape of her voice and face, lost but not her touch, stored deep in the stillness of black and white extended and suspended. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Next, could we call on Massimo Lavelle?
Hello, hello. Really happy to be here, and it was really nice to hear your native tongue. That was a special treat. So thank you. From nearer to dearer, to lover to leaver, beloved redeemer, with words as a healer, from speaker to hearer, the clearer our mirror from being to beer, from dreamer to schemer, to seeker to seer, to keeper of dreams through the seams of a sleeper. Reprieved for done deeds while asleep, but still peeping. Dream patterns weaving, a storyline deepening, deeper than even the furthermost reaches of what is believed in through logic or reason. If self-consciousness is a concept that's fleeting, with conscience it blossoms to consciousness streaming. Dreams reoccurring, rereading, like dreams once deferred, remembered for redeeming. The deepness and darkness of swampland grows lotuses, as we also grow into beauty from brokenness. Even though hope is highlighted by hopelessness, so a small step is a step beyond motionless. Positive, negative, choose what your focus is. Both are just neutral till you charge their voltages. Even cracked vessels can shine through their openings. So be a lighthouse and show darkness whose home this is. If we began humble in all our beginnings, and also were shameless before ever thinking that our own nakedness needed forgiving. Maybe by uncovering, we'll see what we've hidden. But for now, take infinity to sit with this mystery. The gifts I've been given, I give them for free. See, I gave nothing for them when given to me. So please take these gifts as a gift unto thee. Because this life's a fortune that's beyond affording. Your debt's not important if you pay it forward. You owe this world nothing, not even to be something. So please ease your suffering. What we need, like you need, is your loving. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Massimo, for that beautiful gift. And really musical, gorgeous, gorgeous words. Thank you so much. Next up, we will move on to Paul Rabidowitz.
Gor Rabbi mat agat asdom abeth agat.
Nilain Fiblesh.
My piece tonight is just published this morning, so I figured I'd give it it's called Indigo, and it's takes place in the desert here in America, in New Mexico. And my wife and I are giving each other a gift post-pandemic. And in October, we're going to take our little car and drive out to New Mexico and spend a month just out in the desert. And this is called Indigo. If I use a phrase like bird enthusiast with blue eyes, gentle voice in the first stanza of my poem, will I need anything else for the middle or end to explain why you grab car keys, an exquisite turquoise necklace, and meet a bird watcher to view a male bunting perched atop a cactus, singing to stake its claim, plumage brilliant and shiny, illuminated under indigo sky. A vast intoxication. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks so much for that. Thank you. And next up, we have Cathal.
Hey guys, how you doing? So I have a big fat piece today. This is from that called I dreamt of a third of a breath. The kiss before bed must be left. Instead, I make me coffee in one of my t-shirts. It smells like me. I think I'll keep it. At the table, I lay lay out the arcana, climbed on the roots of the world. A paper dragon eats the light. There pass 10,000 days of night. In the city, worry stones cobble the streets. I set out searching. Grist to the wind and the mills. I sow as I go, and so I grow, so wild as my flowers on the hills. Love is a blossom, my tears water humbly, my head full of bees and my heart full of honey. I live to make light of this journeying life, for love is a bosom, a bloom. Look to the east, snake sick and roadwise, sore on my feet I am coming, scented of jasmine and joss, lumbering love. The sage is at work in the field. He is planting a star in the earth, a nod to our yesterday's destinies, free from the plough to the stars. He lays the cord that was bit and discarded to rebirth in the flickering darkness, for asleep grow the seedling and fetus in the five-pointed weaving of Venus, and so I go sowing, mourning each evening the passing of day, for a cup full of moonshines the milk of the way. On simmering silt of dark and star, on silken cosmic foam, the sea retreats before my feet for fools forever roam. And backwards through my sky she leads her procession, anointing my limbs and my brow, braiding my spine in her fingers. By fate we are led, a needle and thread, a seed in its bed it is so, and life's but a flower in a garden much greater. Never quite know. So kiss metamorphosis, systole in breath, comedy, tragedy, agape, agony, each living inlet. A depth under pressure, structures all alter forever. Here is where tears become diamonds. Do you want them? They're worthless. They pour into pools in the forest. They burst into peals of good laughter. They all run away in the gutters, and life is delirious anyway. A fever of sight, sound, and scent. This of the world I become, touching and taste. This is my body and tongue, heartache and sense. And what I feel most is not one or the other, but how it all hangs together, the pull and release of my personal weather. My physical form in the world, my weightless shape in the void, the breath in the flesh, each to a moment, and this one is next. I ate my breakfast in peace, cutting the strings from the cards. A glass on the table, about 8 wands of blackcurrant. I will plant them, not tomorrow, I'm busy, but soon, when I'm ready. At home, in the house of my worship, no smoke ring encircles the serpent, no sage and no salt make my girdle. I am simply holding my center. I rub all the sleep from my dream. I brush all the tears from the sky. I put the blue back in its eye. I push the moon in right beside. I take down the dry clouds from the line. We'll be back in their time. To a third of a through my pocket to my chest, I hold the Queen of Hearts. Where I kept her, she has slept. I slip her back into the deck. She will return. I have not told you tragedies tales. These are my tears. Now they are treasures. Moon diamonds. I loved them like children, raised them to flight, feathered their wings at my feathers. I am half sad and proud at their going. my gutter garnets who watered my growing. For full soon is a season of me, a chrysalis under relief, a flower that grew out of a seed. I am bursting to bloom and to breathe. Thank you.
Thank you, Cathal. Thanks so much. Jeez, you have me dreaming at the moment. I almost forgot what I was doing there. So rhythmic and musical. I think between yourself and Massimo, you could hypnotize a lot of us and have us do your bidding. We just fall right into your poems. And well, I speak for myself. I think I speak for a couple of us here. Just so beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Next up, could we please call on Ada Miles?
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Cathal. It's a beautiful. I love this. My head full of bees, my heart full of honey. It was just as on its own. Mine is a bit funny, a bit. I think I'll do two poems, one short and the other a micro poem. It's on the topic of food. The first is called Untitled. I ate it and it did me wrong. I'm exploding. Help. The white, the cold, the bad, the stored intestines scorch and I wrap up. Never again this dish or this place or whatever. I'll never investigate, so I'll never know. So it'll happen again someday. No. This is pre-COVID, of course, because nowadays I'm not going to any places so to eat out or anything. And the other micro poem is it's actually a manifesto of a musical genre that I'm starting. I call it burp jazz, and it is a positive, a body positive subgenre of jazz where you use burps as for words, actually. So I'm not really as good for doing burps tonight, so I'll just recite it. Burps have a right to be words, words to bear sense, to be said, to music. That's it. And I'll drop a link to the musical version I actually did of it. You can listen to it for free on my Patreon. It's a shortish piece of 1 minute. There's piano and the burps. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ada. Yeah, burps have rights. Burps definitely have rights. But burp jazz, I'm looking forward to hearing some good burp jazz. Thank you for that. Listen, I know, Doc, you wanted to be on the open mic. I didn't see you put your name down there. Are you ready with anything, Doc? I think Doc might be frozen. Doc, you're muted there, my friend. You're still muted. There we go.
Oh, sorry about that. I have a central tremor and sometimes things don't work quite right.
No problem. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I have two poems for you today. Song of Earth, songs of eons, songs of hopes, songs of dreams, songs of longing, songs of love, songs of joy, songs of passion, songs of life, songs of peace, songs of before today, songs of beyond tomorrow, songs of a present past, songs of an ancient future, songs of forever beyond forever, all merge and meld amid the fullness of time into but one song, a song of being, the song of Earth. Gardens of the Moon. Midnight in gardens of the moon. Flowers, bell, perfume, amid scents of ambrosia, on breezes of time. We entwine in sky-clad euphoria, mid sweet summer grasses, neath star-bowered sky, in eternal gaze and approval of infinity. Somewhere beyond the sky, In a nexus of numberless worlds has become possible as we soar into dreams of passion and rapture. In imaginings of the lotus amid dappled Tonglen augury, starbound mysteries of love and silken shapes of shadows, we are translated.
I think dreams seem to be in the air tonight, so gorgeous dream poems. Thank you so much. Next, could we call on Augustina?
Hi. Yeah, maybe because I wanted to see, am I allowed to swear? Can I swear?
Only if you do it convincingly.
Okay, so some of you already know this poem, but I enjoy reading it, so I'm going to read it again. And I've gone with the name Shitstorm. Ada's dancing. Okay. I hardly have a choice. I need to brace up. Got to keep my shit together. It's a difficult burden, a hard place to be in, but it'll all be worth it one day, I hope. As I always try to remind myself, the future is better. Hope is the currency I squander, like it won't run out. But it's hard to keep shit together when the shit is all purging and pouring out. Non-stop, like my tears and the fears that keep me up at night or wake me up before dawn. Sinking, stinking, smearing, swimming in a deep sea of shit. So much shit you can't see past it. Can't escape it, can't clear it, can't flush it, can't bag it. No drainage hole, no reliable plumber to call. All the plumbers are busy because there's a shit pandemic. Houses full of shit, people's full of shit, media full of shit. I am yet like sweet corn. I refuse to be broken down, digested. I'm somehow this ray of yellow light, praying I'll be all right. A small speck, waiting and hoping I'll eventually find the exit hole and unblock it with my 2 arms and maybe feet, and perhaps some might drain. But what I really need is lots of rain, a total washing of healing, loving, compassionate rain, floods of it to flush it. Thank you.
Superb. Thank you so much, Augustina. You'd hardly notice that you were swearing in that poem. Absolutely brilliant. Next, we will ask Sublu to the mic, please.
Right, thanks very much. Okay, I thought because it is a bilingual event that I would bring in my bilinguality and present a translation of a poem by the poet, the female poet that is, say, the ultimate poet laureate of my hometown, Münster, Annette von Droste-Hülshoff. She lived from 1797 to 1848. I'm not sure exactly when this poem is from, but surely between that time span. And I'll present her version first, and then my translation of it. So here we go. Schaust du mich an aus dem Kristall, mit deiner Augen Nebelball, Kometen gleich, die im Verbleichen, mit Zügen, worin wunderlich 2 Seelen wie Spione sich umschleichen, ja, dann flüstere ich, Phantom, du bist nicht meinesgleichen. Bist nur entschlüpft der Träume Hut, zu Eisen mir das warme Blut, die dunkle Locke mir zu blassen, und dennoch dämmerndes Gesicht drin seltsam spiegelt Doppellicht. Trätest du vor, ich weiß es nicht, würd ich dich lieben oder hassen? Zu deiner Stirne Herrscherthron, wo die Gedanken leisten frohn wie Knechte, würd ich schüchtern blicken. doch von des Auges kalten Glast, voll toten Lichts gebrochen fast. Gespenstig wird ein scheuer Gast, weit, weit ich meinen Schemel rücken. Und was den Mund umspielt, so lind, so weich und hilflos wie ein Kind, das möcht in treue Hut ich bringen, in treue Hut ich bergen. Und wieder, wenn er höhnend spielt, wie von gespanntem Bogen zielt, wenn leises durch die Züge wühlt, dann möcht ich fliehen wie vor Schergen. Es ist gewiss, du bist nicht ich, ein fremdes Dasein, dem ich mich wie Moses nahe, unbeschuhet, voll Kräfte, die mir nicht bewusst, voll fremden Leides, fremder Lust. Gnade mir, Gott, wenn in der Brust mit schlummernd deine Seele ruht. Und dennoch fühl ich, wie verwandt, zu deinem Schauern mich gebannt, und Liebe muss der Furcht sich einen. Ja, tretest aus Kristalles Rund, Phantom, du, lebend auf den Grund, nur leise zittern würd ich, und mich dünkt, ich würde um dich weinen. The reflection. You look at me from crystal mirror, with your two eyeballs hazy sphere, of fading comets they remind, with features in which, oh surprise, two souls are stroking quite like spies around each other. Then I sigh, dear phantom, you are not my kind. You just slipped from the care of dreams to chill my warm blood to the freeze, or pale my dark brown locks of hair. And yet, you dim and dusky face, in which a curious twilight plays, if you stepped out, I could not place, if love or hate for you I bear. Up to your brow, the master's throne, the place your thoughts do labor from, like farmhands, I would shyly look. And yet, before the eyes of deadlight full, near brokenness, so ghost-like, I, a timid guest, far, far my little stool would put. And what plays softly round the lip, as sweet and helpless as a kid, I wish to save to loyal protection. And when again the mirror taunts and aims his brow at me like taught, when silence through his features haunts, I want to run like from the henchmen. One thing is sure, you are not me, and I approach you, unknown being, without my shoes like Moses humble, with strengths unconscious, unexpressed, with unknown woes and unknown zest. May God have grace if in my chest your soul lies with me in my slumber. And yet I'm drawn like in a spell, a kindred spirit to your chill, and love must with my fear unite. If you stepped out from crystals round, alive, dear phantom, on this ground, I'd shudder only gently, bound to think I'd weep for you tonight.
Superb. Thank you so much, Sue. It's a gorgeous poem. Thanks a million. Did you write the translation yourself?
Yes, I did. Yes, this is my own translation. I've been working on a few translations over the lockdown of poems to me, and this was, it wasn't dear to me before, but I came across it in the process and I loved it, and so I thought I'd translate it. So, yeah.
Vielen Dank. All right, superb. We'll go on to our next reader, please, Emily Davis Fletcher.
Hi, thank you. So great to hear Irish. That's one of the many things that's wrong with the US. We just don't have enough Irish over here. So thank you. And I really want to say I have some exciting news, and I owe this a lot to Paul, like my good news to Paul. I'm going to be going to Hollins University in the fall to an MFA in creative writing, and I don't want now everyone's going to inundate you with letters of recommendation, but you have the magic touch, so thank you for that letter of recommendation. And I got into a lot of the schools I applied for, so you're going to get now rushed with people asking you for letters of recommendation. All right, so I'm going to read this one poem called Sex in Ancient Seventh Grade. And it's funny, it was inspired by a friend of mine was telling me that when he was in 7th grade, he believes it was like James Joyce's like great niece or great granddaughter. He was saying there was some connection to this girl in 7th grade that he was in class with to James Joyce, and he got this like surprise, like lusty note from her that just like really blew his mind. And then it had me thinking like, yeah, 7th grade was like, there was a lot of like sensuality in 7th grade, and in my 7th grade, that's when we had to watch like a sex video and stuff. So this is where this comes from. All right, Sex in Ancient 7th Grade. Lights out and my knee kisses your knee, not so accidentally whenever we sit cross-legged on the floor. But now you and the other boys sprawl out like scissors on a rug in math. I'm stuck in history, boxed in by the soft points of girls. In separate worlds, you and I look up at identical screens that turn pale with a wonder, not unlike the inner maze of a pyramid, if made of marshmallow and underwater. Up or down, our eyes follow a microscopic lens, wearing a miner's hat, as minutes stretch like miles. I forget what I should watch and glare with Nefertiti at the shaky outline of your paper sarcophagus. You wouldn't lie still, jerk to grab any female ankle within reach, as I trace the inside of your thigh. A white burst of fireworks. Laughter breaks through the wall. In my head, I hear you yell, "There she blows." Sperm, says a man's voice, but we cannot see the penis. Tiny horse spirits race until stalled by static. The school nurse smacks the TV to behave. Once you lay too close to an anthill, and my gaze let its black parade up your leg. More minutes and miles to come to a burned out sun. The egg, I already know the first of the center wins, but why do they bite and bite and bite for the egg to eat them whole? Why did you close your eyes when I stepped over your head? Lights on and my eyes sting from the TV's vision. Too limited, too late, like an owl pellet I've been forced to study, tweeze fur and bones from, reconstruct the mouse. I know older ways to catch a live one. I know truer ways to touch you. Even now, you wear a khaki explorer's hat, feel along my grainy walls that glow from your torch. The brontosaurus scar on your thumb eclipses gods in profile who prefer to be seen looking away as your flame trembles to my deepest chamber and is snuffed out by a greater brilliance. Blinded, you keep searching, glide your fingertips down the gold current of my nose, my neck, and read that I am not this body. In radiance, you stumble, shatter the head of a jackal that seals a jar. Reaching in, you cut your hand on my heart. Later at my desk, I sit in front of you and double cross my legs. Who did it? Our teacher demands, holding a drawing that was folded 6 times and passed behind her back. Its sky is creased, not clear like textbook smooth pages. The Egyptians is your smart answer. I want to say something true. Someone's uncle must have come home crying about plastic bags circling the Sphinx like vultures, the way my uncle came home crying about AIDS. But I don't. The map's long crack of the Nile reminds me that the pad between my legs could overflow. So I raise my hand, ask a question. How can I show you my skin still tingles from your ant bites? In the bathroom, I wrap a drop of my blood in toilet paper to leave on your empty chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. Emily, that was a stunning poem. And believe you me, all those acceptances are for your poetry, nothing else, you know. And listen, very best of luck at Holland University. I'm delighted you got in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Okay, so next we'll call on Catherine Ronan.
Hi, everyone. Great evening, as usual. I wrote this poem for my grandmother and for strong women everywhere, past and present. And it's called Time Sings Solo. Bleeding fuchsias, dripping wine to steps, trees spilling light, and so they are hung ripe. Stretching branches awake to wet and windy dreams. The spell has sounded and the sea beckons to stir ashes into consciousness. Such frail remains. Throw maudlin to the winds, arms of grass are thrown about you. These shackles sing to you of life with aerial breath. I stand sentry to solitude now, watch you war with a mutinous army and weakening lines. Mountains erupt on your ragged coastline, purple and stark. Birds are soaring across great divides to echo the cries that you raise to hell, drenched under relentless heat, humbled to its cold hand. These beds are still and treacherous. Stones are splitting their sides with salt and moaning in torrents. Tumbling from your cliff face, a woman born before her time.
Thank you, Catherine. It's a very feisty praise poem, very volcanic, gorgeous piece. Thank you very much indeed. And next up, we'll call on Margaret O'Regan.
Thanks, Paul. This is a piece of prose about the Debenham strike. It was written after the two stores had the stock taken out. And it's called Legacy. The Debenham strikers will leave a legacy for their children and grandchildren on the generations to come. We will remember them for their continuing year-long heroic stance against the might of the Irish state on Garda Síochána, the courts, KPMG and Debenhams. We will remember their courage, tenacity, grit and determination. We will remember their first thought on being made redundant, communicated to them by email. Their first thought was the plight of the 969 Bangladeshi workers of Debenhams, who were also redundant because the clothing contract was terminated. They raised money for these workers while on strike for their own rights. We will remember their continuing selfless determination to force the government to implement the Duffy-Cahill report to copper fasten redundancy rights, not for themselves, but for all succeeding generations of workers in Ireland. We will remember their dignity and strength on the pickets around the country in all weathers. We will remember the songs in Henry Street and Tralee, and that inspiring slow march in Tralee in front of the giant juggernaut, full of the stock they worked so hard to secure. Here in Cork, we will remember baby Grace, a baby born during COVID and during this monumental strike, a baby who was iconic since the second she was born, and whose mother, Claire, continued picket duty and organised the campaigns Social Pregnancy and Beyond. We will remember Valerie Conlon, shop steward, emerging victorious, leading her fellow trade unionists during the occupation and organising action days and continuing pickets. Above all, we will remember their valued friendship, forged from conversations at the coalface of the picket for the rest of our lives. What a legacy each and every one of them leave behind. Contrast the above with the following. On Garda Síochána, what legacy are they leaving? They will leave a legacy for their children and grandchildren. We will remember each and every one of them for not having the gumption to exercise their right to conscientiously refuse to obey their orders on moral or ethical grounds. We will remember each and every one who has been involved in assisting KPMG and Debenhams, each and every one who has breached COVID regulations by not just permitting, but aiding and abetting non-essential work to take place. Each and every one who has passed the strikers' pickets. Each and every one who has physically removed these strikers, mostly mothers and grandmothers. Each and every one who has escorted juggernauts of trucks full of stock, which these strikers were protecting. We will remember each and every one who has said, we are just doing our job instead of doing the right thing. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret, for that very, very moving praise and protest poem. I think a lot of people in Cork, especially, and in Dublin, certainly, we'll get a lot from that, and I'm glad this is on video for them too. I hope you go try and publish that somewhere.
Well, we're waiting. Well, I have it on Facebook. But we're waiting. We're waiting for the Cork store to be swooped upon. It could happen anytime, even in the middle of the night. I'm on the call list, but I told them I'd do the filming. I'll do a video. I won't sit down and get myself lifted up. I'm not finished with my vaccines yet.
Well, let us know when you are. We'll be happy to come lift you up, Margaret. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Didn't we see you in the newspaper there this week? Am I right? You saw a photograph of you. Were you in the paper?
I don't know. I'll wait and see what you tell me. What was it about?
The new group that started that you were part of? I only vaguely.
Oh, yeah. The All Ireland National Health Service campaign, no?
Sounds right to me. Sounds right. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm part of that. We're launching a campaign for an All Ireland National Health Service.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah. All right, superb. Thanks for being on the front lines for us, Margaret.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we'll call on Ben Burns.
Hello. I just want to say thanks to Dubhán and Julie for your readings, and thanks to everyone else as well. I wanted to say a special congratulations to Julie on launching the book, and it was a great performance tonight, so thanks, Julie. This poem is called Zero Sadness. There is a designated space for sadness. It is taken out of circulation and left there to cry. All alone in an eternal blue bubble. It cannot influence econ. Sadness is too dangerous, too quick to mutate. I am happy that it is gone.
Thank you, Ben. Great to see you back. Hope to see more of you soon. Actually, we'll try and make sure of that. Actually, I'm scared on to you about him seeing one of these fine nights. I think we only have Mags left on the list. Am I right? Is there anyone else who has not read who would like to read? Don't think so. No. Oh, we've got Kemi. Kemi, let's go for Kemi first. Kemi, please, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi, sorry, hi.
Hi, Kemi.
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
I've been having problems with Zoom. So it's just a silly poem I wrote in the winter. And I just thought, oh, I might like to read it, but I'd never read it out. So it's called In the Company of Pasta Bake. So Pasta Bake was good company before I was plant-based, off sugar and gluten-free. Crispy, soft cheese calls to me, warm, firm, and Moorish. I scrape the crunchy corners, would hate to poison offspring. I put this down to safety testing. The fork swerves and stabs a sturdy Fusellini. Two others squeeze onto the prongs as I raise the seductive temptation to my tongue. Mozzarella rays follow, brightening taste buds, chili heat and cheesy comforts hug. I forget my healthy living. I forget my lifestyle pledge. The aches in knuckles and knees were not cured for forsaking meat. I suspect the deprivation led to deeper chocolate addiction, my body mining for iron. Pasta bake is a culinary remedy, warming and relieving the winter's chill. That's it.
Oh, delicious, Kemi. What have you done to us? So we're all going to be running for the kitchen after this. Running for the fridge, for the cupboards. Thank you, Kemi. And great to see you. Okay, I think we just have Mags left on the list. You know, last but not least, Shirley, Mags, friend with you. Please welcome to the stage.
Hauling. I really couldn't enjoy it more. Comishasiv Lera, agus tá mé coint agus buin canvas canna listna cantáí na Halban, got Gaelic singers, agus tá mé géirecht má chuidárána chur asú canar, agus slowly but surely I'm translating all my songs into Irish and those with them. So I suppose our parish there was more Bhéal Léire, and she was illiterate, and she sang all her poems and they're still there. I feel I should say one little verse for her, but I'll do a little bossa nova because I write tangos and bossa novas now, and it's kind of fusion. So, go shaun lan and hiema in Ivlera shavinsha maradian and fisaniha on sheer hall soul ig mach no shalom henig is a game of musmuinta the gest the gwil tala being gone and known, listening in the woods to the sweet sound of the birds before the battle broke out. So this is what I'm writing nowadays, coming out of that parish anyway. I'll try and do what I did to the Pan Celtic last year. I'm going to crack off it. Bossa Nova Celtica. Nabi Burha, Nabi Brona Kanaron, Be Kamalam Sae, Eluna Halian, Vidu Emus Wintaik, Ligam Dermum Khri, Mahalad Naim Shakata, Fishnan Tauki. Shankyola rish la kela, dem klakte dans nakyo, be kamalam sad on gandima, danu arang gandima, urantas uignach, venener in sundown, igeshte gleshen kora. The young, cause I still reach the Creole, Kadalaska way at near, or dig the hula be, Rodocus be fear, Bossa Nova Celtica, Kyokan Shank, Lepers and Chunk, Ikrinka and Sania, the Chandriachtum with Anoch. Bossa Nova Celtica, Kyokan Shine, Lepers and Chunk, Ikrinka and Sania, we Andrea and we Anoch, we Andrea and we Anoch. Urental sweet nach, venener in sundown. Ik geest de gleschen kora, kroe de jou. Kassos lichtke kelam, den klak de dans nak jo. Wie ik amalam sa, dan gaan die. Bossa Nova Celtica, Colgan Shine, Lepers and Chunk, Ikrinka and Sania, the Chandriachtum with Anocht. Bossa Nova Celtica, Colgan Shine, Lepers and Chunk, Ikrinka and Sania, the Chandriachtum with Anocht. The way I know, Bossa Nova Celtica. You put on the moor.
More.
Like a pre-econo after the COVID.
We should go and we share Rousefad, Machara Max, Camila Magat, agus Camila Magat Galer, Gachenia, as St. Philicht, Rousenocht, Harbar, Fad, agus briachas mór an our mert Ili, Dubhán agus Julie, a good dawn to Isle, Donicha Anocht agus an blas taishig na Gaelga. You know, great to have a nice taste of Irish. And I think for our international guests, they really appreciate the sounds of it, as well the music in our ancient language, which is older than Greek, I'll have you all know, if you look at the Indo-European tree. So we're delighted with you all. Thanks so much, and best of luck with your debut collections to both of you. Congratulations, they're very well deserved, and may they be the beginning of a very fruitful, long and productive and great journey that hopefully the poetry will bring you. So thank you so much for a fantastic evening, and thanks to everyone in our 5 words competition, to Philip Spillane, our winner, who's not with us right now. Congratulations, Philip. He'll be getting his copy of Julie's book fairly shortly. And to everyone on the open mic, thanks a million. I'm now going to say goodbye to our social media audiences on Facebook, YouTube, and Vimeo. And then for those of you who'd like to stay behind, we're going to enjoy our virtual mains. We can have a few drinks from your fridge if you like. And thanks very much, everyone. You can give yourselves a big round of applause.
Oh.